Good evening. Welcome to the show, Rebels with a Purpose, and I'm your talk show host, Terrence Perry. Thank you all for joining me today. Before we get started, I want to just share a little bit of what Rebels with a Purpose is all about and share a little bit about myself and why I started Rebels with a Purpose. So, if you let me indulge you for a minute, I give you some insight as to how Rebels with a Purpose came about. Rebels with a Purpose is basically a little bit about myself. It's my background in terms of a certified life coach. Um, I'm a mental health uh, I'm a mental health care worker and also a change agent. One of the things that I do, I coach teenagers and young adults, male and female, and that's basically helping them to get from where they are to where they want to be. In doing so, in doing so, we just kind of guide them along and kind of let them find their way. But we give them insight, give them some instruction, give them some ideas and concepts, and also just share some experiences as to what I did and what some of the others done along the way. Now today I do have a co-host and guest that will be coming along a little later, and we'll bring on in the show. But before we get into that, and I just want to send a shout out to Muhammad Ali's family, and my condolences for his passing. Muhammad Ali was a great figure in America since the '60s. He was not just a great boxer, but also he was a great figure because of his civil rights stand, the stance that he took on what he believed in. He didn't believe in going to fight in the Vietnam War. He stated that, and in that process, he was stripped of his title. He was stripped of his championship for probably about 3 to 5 years. He was supposed to do time in prison. He didn't actually do active time. He did do some jail time, but he didn't actually have to serve the 5 years in prison. But during that time frame, Muhammad Ali, they did reinstate him. He didn't have to go to the war, but he stood his ground regardless. Even though he was the greatest fighter during that time, he gave all of that up for what he believed in. And you got to commend him for taking the stance, particularly during that time. He didn't feel like we needed to go fight in a Vietnam War when nobody in Vietnam was doing anything to him. In Vietnam, thousands of miles away, we had no problem with anybody in Vietnam. So Muhammad Ali said if he was going to fight anybody, he should have been fighting right here on American soil. The oppressor was right here in America, not somewhere over in Vietnam. And he didn't feel like he needed to go and fight that fight, and he didn't. And that was his biggest stance, more so than the fights that he had in the ring where he was knocking jokers out left and right. He did that also. And again, just a little bit about Muhammad Ali. We saw him in his later years when he was suffering from Parkinson's disease, and that in of itself just showed us that he was human. Even though we thought he was bigger than life when he was in the ring fighting and knocking out Joe Frazier and a lot of the others, we also realized that Muhammad Ali was human. He was human too. Parkinson's disease showed us that because we saw his health, we saw him go from a vigorous, outgoing man to a man that was, well, he was humble anyway, but he became more humble and quiet, and his health had left, and he still lived for the past 40 years with Parkinson's disease. So, again, I just want to just say my condolences to Muhammad Ali. He was always my hero and always will be. Again, not just in the ring, but just in America, the stance he took. And that kind of brings me back to the show, Rebels with a Purpose. And Muhammad Ali was sort of that figure, a rebel with a purpose, right here. So that's why I wanted to kind of mention him today and just let you know, if you want to kind of get an understanding of what Rebel with a Purpose is all about, think about the life that Muhammad Ali had and the life that he um, he led right here. Also, let me take a minute to I want to introduce the producer of the show, Amnon Nissan. Nissan, how you doing today?
I am fine. Amnon.
Amnon.
And I want to take this opportunity to welcome you to the family here.
Thank
You are online, and there's a whole bunch of them I can see. Log into the chat, guys, on the right, or depends if you're on the mobile below the video. There is a place for you to log in, and you can type back and forth. You can also call 919-518-9773 or Computers 2K Voice if you're on Skype, and carry a conversation with Terrence.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So let me just share a minute, a little bit about myself also. I said I am a certified life coach. I'm also an author of 4 books right now. I started writing books a couple of years ago. The first book that I released was Coaching in the Game of Life. And that book, Coaching in the Game of Life, it is available on Amazon.com, and it's also available on CreateSpace.com. Or you can go to Barnes and Nobles and pick up a copy of Coaching in the Game of Life. And there's a workbook that goes with that called Bring Your A Game. And that's basically a book and workbook that helps guide people along the way in life. It kind of gives you the idea of how to invest in yourself in all aspects. You have to invest in your personal in your personal life. You have to invest in your professional life. You have to invest in your relationships. You have to invest in your education. You have to invest in you. And Coaching in the Game of Life, it kind of gives you the guide. It's a guidebook to help you to understand how you invest in yourself. In order to get to the next level in life, in order to amplify your life, you got to invest in yourself. And that's just having, if you invest in yourself, then certainly you will invest in your community. You invest in the institution or school that you graduated from. You invest in your family. You invest in your community. But it starts with you investing in yourself, because that's what's going to get you to the next level. But a person that won't invest in himself certainly won't invest in anything else. How could they? If you don't believe in yourself, then there's really nothing else that you believe in. So Coaching in the Game of Life kind of hits on that. Investing in yourself, believing in yourself, believing in your higher power, believing in whatever your faith is. That's first and foremost, because with that faith, that's gonna help you to believe in yourself, because you know there's a power that's stronger than you, bigger than you, powerful than you, and that power got you. The Creator got you. So if you believe in the Creator, whatever denomination or whatever religious belief you have, that's beside the point. But the point is knowing that there's some out there more powerful and bigger than you, that helped you to get here. And by you following that process, you invest in yourself. The other book that I have, and I'm gonna just hold it up, it's Healing Lives Matters. Now, Healing Lives Matter is also a book that I wrote earlier this year, and I just released the volume 2 of this book, Healing Lives Matter, called Is America Ready to Heal? And Is America Ready to Heal and Healing Lives Matter, both books talks about the atrocities that we see in America today. It also speaks about the things that we see in ourselves, because America is truly a mirror and reflection of who we are as different races in America, and also as a nationality of it's a diverse nationality of people. But America has its, as well respected as it was, America has lost a lot of the respect that the world had for America. And even the people in America has lost respect for America itself, because America is a reflection of the people. We've lost respect for ourselves, and we understand why. We understand that when you look inside yourself, you see the you that you are, but not the you that you can be. And America preaches, be all you can be. Um, but in and of itself, America don't truly allow you to be all that you can be. And why is that? Well, we could take it back to racism. We could take it back to slavery. We could take it back to a lot of the atrocities that have happened in America. We could go into the political realm at which we are today, the Republican Party, the Democratic Party. We could take it in any of those directions and see that America don't have the best interests of the individual, but they have the best interests of companies. Uh, I think one of the biggest companies in America is pharmaceutical companies selling drugs. That's all pharmaceutical companies do. They sell you drugs for a lifetime. But if you and I are selling drugs out in the community, then you're gonna get a 25 to life prison sentence. But America sell you drugs all day long for any pain, ache. There's a drug they have for that, and they market drugs through doctors and so forth, hospitals, all day, every day. Uh, Pharmaceutical companies is the biggest financial uh, opportunity in America today, and so we have to look at that. Is America? When I ask, is America ready to heal? We're looking at the root cause of America. America can be the greatest country ever. It was built on life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But in that pursuit of happiness, we know that there is intrinsic racism. We know that there's racism in the institution itself, in the threads of America. We're being hindered. Minorities uh, are being oppressed. Why is that? So we have to look at ourselves, whether you're black, white. It don't matter what your race is, but you still have to look at yourself and ask yourself, what am I contributing to that? What am I contributing to that? Um, Let me just also say that if we have a call, you can call in and talk to me. You can call on the 919-518-9773 number. If you got questions, concerns, please dial in and share, and we can dialogue a little bit.
Shirley in the chat is, first of all, she's saying, I certainly agree that we must invest in ourselves, in our children, in our nation, when you were saying it before. And she was adding before that she's very honored to be here, that Mr. Perry has a lot to say to the community. Then she's adding, what a profound statement. America is a reflection of who we are. Racism is a strong reflection of who we are today. We need to open an honest dialogue on our contributions to racism.
That that's it in a nutshell. We are dealing with racism, but that's not an excuse. Racism is not an excuse. We know is live and well. Is been here. We've always have to deal with racism, and racism hasn't gone anywhere. We remember the '60s. A lot of us that were born in the '60s and raised through the '60s and '70s. We've seen the civil rights movements, the women rights movements, and the hippie movement, and we saw, different diverse people come together and fight for a cause that they believed in. Um, and that's when people came together. They came together for a cause, and that cause became a movement. When you got a diverse group of people that come together that to fight for a cause, that cause become a movement. Do we have another question?
Hello?
Hi, Shirley. How you doing this
Yes?
evening?
I don't really. How you doing, Terrence?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm glad you called in. You have a question for us today?
don't really have a. Well, yes, I do.
Shirley,
And
Shirley,
yes,
um, turn down the volume on the computer or the phone or whatever and hear Terrence this way through the phone that you're calling on, because otherwise
okay,
it's going to mess you up with the delay.
okay, and that's exactly what it was doing. Terrence, can you hear me now?
Oh, I can hear you great, loud and
Great.
clear. Yeah, loud and clear.
Wonderful. It's not so much a question as it is an observation.
Okay.
As far as racism is concerned, I think the problem, a lot of the problem comes in the fact that we don't recognize the contributions of our differences. Differences are beautiful, and the fact that God created us different, different colors, different genders. We have people with disabilities. We have all of this. And I think the problem comes in that people just fear these differences. And this has happened since the beginning of time. And I'm just, I wonder how we're going to come together with our differences, with our multiculturalisms and all of that, and come together as a nation. Because that's the problem. We're so divided. Everybody is, and the main difference is with money. It's with that socioeconomic status that we're all into, where you got the ones on the top, the ones on the bottom, and that's a fight outside of color.
True.
So there's so much that's going on with racism, and there's so many levels of it. What can we do outside of trying to pull everybody together? How can we teach our children? Because that's one of the things that we really need to do. We need to start them young and bring our kids up to recognize that differences are not, it's not bad to be different.
Right.
It's a good thing. We just have to know how to deal with it.
And Shirley, that's what I would say is we have to embrace, the differences. As you said, we are different, and we have to embrace it instead of fear. Instead of fearing the differences, we got to embrace the differences. And I think part of it is that the differences are recognized, but also the differences have been covered up for a long time. A lot of the things that we've done as Black people, it has been recognized, but it has been covered up. So we wasn't even aware of a lot of the inventions and things that we have done, but white America had recognized it, and they tried to cover it up. So it's not that they don't recognize the differences and they don't embrace it, but we have to recognize it and also embrace it and let them know that at this point in time in history, we know that we're gifted. We know, everybody's gifted, regardless of your race. But we have to share those gifts and not conquer and divide, with those gifts. And part of it, we have to change policy. When we're talking about racism, we're talking about prejudice when you're talking about people-to-people racism. That's just prejudice. But racism in and of itself, once it's in the system, once it's in policy, then we have to go back and change policy. Because that's how a lot of times the police get away with a lot of things that they do, because policy backs them. They can stand behind policy and say they did what they did because of policy. So we have to go back and change policy. So we have to use the system in order to do that. We had to go through the political process in order to do that. We had to go through, whether it be the General Assembly, maybe I know for us in Raleigh, we have to go through our chamber. We have to go through the General Assembly, and we have to fight to get those policies changed, because those policies are in the system. They're in the educational system. They got policies that work against us. In the universities, they got policies that works against us, or that we're not even aware of. And even in housing, with housing policies, there's a lot of times we can't even move and be in certain neighborhoods because of the housing policies, and we're not even aware of it. So first and foremost, we have to find out what the policies are that need to be changed, and change policies.
You know, Terrence,
Yeah.
I agree with you 100% on that, but I also would like to add that in changing these policies, we can change policies all day long, and it's done. We have amendments to laws and all of that. But I think some of the problems lie in the hearts and minds of people.
True.
Until we can reach deep into these people's hearts, minds, and souls to change who we are as a civilization, there's going to be problems. I mean, we can change policy in the United States, but what about when we go into foreign affairs, when we go over to our foreign neighbors, and their hearts and their minds aren't where they need to be.
Right.
So I think in and of itself, yes, policies. We've been changing policies since the beginning of time. For slavery, slavery was an institution,
Right.
but in that institution, you had to change the hearts and souls and thinking of men in the South, of women in the South. And until that was done, a lot of the civil rights movement, a lot of that took place as a result of our white counterparts coming in to help us. I mean, a lot of what we now, granted, the civil rights movement was a strong movement with a lot of powerful blacks, but a lot wouldn't have taken place without the advocacy of strong-minded, loving whites, and also laws. Now,
Right.
it was good for the nation to change that. Everything that was going on was going to reflect on the stability of our nation. So, with that, I just wanted to add all day, but we have got to find a way through dialogue, through community efforts to get to our children, to talk to teachers, to talk to our community leaders, to
So
bring
true.
us together in some kind of a format where we can start talking about all of this discrimination and differences and all of that.
Shirley, I agree with you 100%. I think it do starts in the hearts and minds of the individual, and that kind of goes back to what I said in the beginning. You know, we have to look at ourselves. We have to look at ourselves inside, and we have to look at our own character. We have to look at what's really going on inside of us, because hate, hate goes both ways. Love goes both ways also. But
Exactly.
what we're seeing in the hearts of man is more hate. Hate brings about hate, and also love brings about love. So we have to be more loving in our heart, and we have to get to a point of where, where we can feel the love in our heart for mankind, for humanity, first and foremost, because sometimes we have to overlook the slights that we've had. I mean, we can't go back and change slavery, but what we can do today is deal with we can deal with what we see today. Any injustice, we got to deal with the injustices that we see today on the basis of today. And it starts there with with whatever's in a person's heart. That's what's going to come out. And that's whether you're black or white. And there are black and whites that get along fine. There are a lot of them that don't. But also I think we still have to again change policy. We have to change our heart, and there's a combination of those things working together.
True.
Because I mean, other countries and nations have to do the same thing.
True.
But when you talk about capitalism and that dollar, man's heart is focused on a dollar, and more so
Yes.
than on the love of mankind or the love of humanity. They're more focused on the bottom line, making a dollar. When I said when I talked about the pharmaceutical companies that's selling all these drugs to prescription drugs, they'll sell you prescription drugs from the time you step foot on earth to the time you die, they'll have you thinking you got to take medication for everything that ails you all day, every day, and that's not the case. But they want you to think that, so they'll sell you prescription medications all day and say that you need prescription medication. You need this pill, you need the blue pill, you need the white pill, you need the green pill. They'll sell you a pill all day, every day. Not that you need it, but they want you to have it because that's gonna make them richer. So,
But that's where knowledge comes in. That's where we have to be well informed as a people, and in order to do that, we've got to help one another, just like what you're doing right now. But I find that a lot of times what we end up doing is preaching to the choir.
True.
We never really get to those who we need to get to. Right now, I wonder how many people are listening to you that need to listen to you. I absolutely need to listen to you, but I am well informed, and I'm a very intelligent person. But how do we get beyond preaching to the choir and get to those people who are taking all of these drugs, who are not aware that diet and exercise is so important in their lives, and that diet and exercise can can get rid of the symptoms of diabetes and some of the heart disease and all of that, high blood pressure, hypertension. How do we get to these people? And you're doing it. I mean, you're doing it. But as a people, how do we inform our brothers and sisters on how best to live and survive?
well, part of it is we have to go out in the communities and educate, and part of it we have to go. When I say in the communities, it's actually a lot of times we have to go through. You go through the churches in the communities, but you have to go in the communities of people that know and don't know. You have to go into the communities to educate. And one of the things that I do, I try to do a lot of workshops and trainings all the time in the communities, and just to bring awareness to those concepts that we just talked about. And one of the concepts that I try to bring a focus to first and foremost, is self-love, self-worth, self-care, self-confidence, self-identity. Because once we truly understand who we are, not just as a people, but even as an individual, and then you have to understand what you've been through as an individual, because a lot of times we get those childhood belief systems of what we take into adulthood, and some of the things that we were taught in childhood are not necessarily things that we need to take into adulthood. They may have been what our parents or what our family thought, and at that time in history, that may have been the norm. But when you grow up in a certain mindset, and you take that into your adulthood, sometimes you're stuck. You may be an adult. You may be an adult in a emotional child's body. And for example, let's take I'm gonna say a single parent family, but not to knock any single parent. I'm just saying when there's a two-parent household, say there's a father not in the home, let's say that, well, it could be the son or daughter, but I'm gonna just speak on the son right now. That son, regardless of how strong and present that mother is, that son is gonna still miss not having a father. So you can talk all day, and mother can do this, and uncles can come in and help, and that son can have role models, but still the lack of not having a father impacts that son's life. So as he go into adulthood, I think there's still some emptiness. There's still some emptiness that will always be inside of him, and that's some hurt. I've worked with a lot of youth over the last 30 years, and one of the things when you see kids that don't have a father necessarily, or didn't have a father, or their father was incarcerated during the time that they were growing up, if you get them aside one-on-one, they'll tell you that they were hurting and that they miss not having a father, and seeing other kids that got fathers that come to their games, take them fishing or do stuff with them. They miss that, and they hope that that father is going to come into their life at some point. and it never happened. So on Father's Day for them, they're let down. They're feeling emptiness on Father's Day, even though the mother's there and is doing a lot for them. You still can't replace that family member that's not there, and I think that hurts us as a as a family, but also as a community, because community wise, a lot of fathers are not in the home, and those males, and females too, have felt that absence. They say you can't miss what you never had, but you really can, particularly when you're missing a parent that you wish you had, that you see other people with. So that's what I mean. That's just some of the stuff that we're dealing with in the community. The absent parent, the self identity, But I'm gonna kind of just move away from that just for a minute. I do want to bring on my guest for this evening, and we want to I'm gonna kind of guide the conversation in a different direction. So I'm gonna bring my guest on today, and that's none other than Lorinda. Lorinda's here, and she's gonna talk about some of the organizations that she's started, some of the organizations that she's involved in, and also her organization that she started several years back, Move My Mountain. Is that .org?
It's .com.
.com. So Lorinda, how you doing this evening?
Fantastic.
All right, I'm glad to have you, and
Good to be here.
I want you to dive right in.
Okay.
Just kind of give us a little backstory about who you are, what you're doing,
Okay.
and I got a barrage of questions that I'm gonna ask you, but I'm gonna let you kind of give the backstory about yourself and how you started your organization before I ask you 100 questions.
Okay. I'm Lorinda Michieka, and I have a company called Move My Mountain and several other several interests. And Move My Mountain was started behind the concept that everything is easy if you know how. And when I came along, when I got my first computer in 1992, information was the commodity. It was the thing that you needed in order to move forward. And it was also the thing that made many businesses run. And it was the thing that made the internet so attractive to people. So that was the thing that was sold, that was the thing that was traded. And what I was trying to do was figure out how to take care of myself in a world that that required that you either do that or crash and burn. And Move My Mountain was about, hey, I don't need for you to do it for me. I just kind of need for you to point me in the right direction. Just let me know if I'm on track. And for me, if I don't know how to tie my shoes, tying my shoes is a very difficult thing to do. But if you know how to do that, whether you charge me for it or not, just move that mountain for me so I can move to the next step of my progress. And so I spent a lot of time learning things that people could have just easily told me because I was asking the questions. But clearly I wasn't ready for that, or I wasn't asking the right questions, or I wasn't ready to hear it. So I really wanted to serve the world in a way that had them get the information that they needed, the direction that they needed, the expertise that they needed when they needed it, without a whole lot of holding back. I wanted to be very free with service and information.
So let me ask you, with Move My Mountain, now it's not a nonprofit.
No,
How's that entity set up?
people ask me that a lot because it really kind of sounds like some kind of charity. But it is because charity is love, And so service is a form of charity. Serving someone is a way to love them. And serving doesn't necessarily mean that it's free. Every time I go to get my oil changed, they service it, but they kind of want me to pay them.
Yeah.
So it is not a nonprofit. It does have value. So that value requires an exchange of value in my mind, and especially in free enterprise, and that's what that is.
Okay. Now let me also too. Do you have another organization that you founded in recent years, and do these organizations work alongside each other, or are they totally separate entities that don't necessarily come together?
Right. Well, I have a lot of interests. I am a curious cat, and I tend to follow my heart and follow my interests. So those different interest areas would seem like that they are totally different businesses, but when you have a need isn't necessarily in one domain or another. I like to approach life itself and business from a standpoint of service, and sometimes and information can be in any domain. So sometimes it feels like I'm all over the place, but really it's just service.
So let me ask you this, because the name of the show is Rebels with a Purpose,
Ooh,
and so
I didn't know that.
yeah, Rebels with a Purpose. So what I want to kind of get, I want to know, what are you truly passionate about?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I
what
am truly, unequivocally passionate about progress.
progress?
Progress. And that is my service to the world, is to help people make progress. Because in my definition, happiness is progress. If we set ourselves on a path to get a goal, when we get there, to be sure, you get one thing, you're gonna want something else. That is how we're designed. Desire is never ending as long as you're breathing. So so progress, if I define happiness as progress, that means that whether I get this goal or not, if I'm making steps towards a worthy ideal, then I can find happiness. Um,
Now, let me cut you off for a minute.
no, I don't want
Yeah,
you to do that.
I'm gonna do that because
Okay.
I want to touch on the happiness, because it sounds like, now is happiness a destination?
No,
Or so where we at with happiness
progress.
and progress? Kind of bring me to
Happiness
that.
is progress. Happiness is moving the needle in the direction that you want to go. It is not feeling like you're going backwards. It's feeling like you're going forward to a place that you really want to be. That's happiness.
Okay. But now, let's say I'm gonna play devil's advocate. Let's say you do have to take some steps backwards,
Yeah.
and
Those are days I'm not happy.
you're not happy on
No, I'm
those
not
days.
happy on those days.
Sometimes I mean,
Stuff
we,
happens.
we do have to take steps
Yeah,
backwards
yeah,
sometime
yeah.
in order to, as they say, sometimes it takes two steps back before you can take a step forward.
Right.
But in that process, you know why you're taking steps backwards. So,
Sometimes, yeah.
so I mean, if you know why you're taking steps backwards, then
You're still making progress though.
Right, there you
Because
go.
you actually know that, okay, this is an area I need to work on. So I'm not ready for that thing that I really want yet because I have to back up and
Right.
learn this other thing. But I'm
There you go.
still making progress
Progress.
because I'm growing. Even if it feels like I am taking the long way around.
and that's kind of what I was getting to is that sometimes you do have to take steps back,
Yeah.
but that's still, that, like I said, as long as you know what you're doing, it's still progress.
Mm-hmm.
It may not be at the pace that you want it to be at, but you understand I'm gonna take these steps back because I know and taking them back, I can reassess, readjust, and
Right.
then it's going to propel me to move forward. I can take a giant step forward once I take those steps backwards and do what I need to do in reverse. But if I don't know and I'm going backwards, then yeah, I'm gonna,
That my
Yeah.
friend is ignorant.
you know,
And we live there too. And that happens. And what is frustrating is not knowing and not knowing that you don't know.
that can't.
That is frustrating because you have no point of reference. You don't understand why things are all jacked up backwards and lackluster.
All right, so let me just also let the audience know if anybody want to call in. We have Lorinda here with MoveMyMountain.com. And you can call in at 919-518-9773 if you have any questions, or if you just want to conversate with her, do call in. And one of the questions that I do have, Lorinda, hold on just a minute.
Charlie has a comment here. She's got a bunch of comments.
Oh, okay.
About,
Shirley's
she's
still-
just
still-
agreeing, and she says sounds like a great concept and all that. And then she says, I didn't know that happiness is the end all to moving the needle. Happiness is a state of being.
Yes.
It is enough to get us to our goals and destination.
I agree. I completely agree with that. Yep.
All right.
High five,
Shirley.
Shirley.
Yeah, Shirley, I appreciate. Yeah, I didn't know you were still on the line, but hey, good. But now my question for you, Lorinda, is when we talk about progress and happiness. So we're talking about seasons. So I want to know what season are you in, and if you're in a season, are you ready to move to the next season in your life? So where are you at right
Right.
now, season wise?
Yeah. Where I am right now is in a season of disappointing.
You're in a disappointing season.
I am in a disappointing season. I'm in a season that I am preparing, retooling, reinventing, getting a whole bunch of different contacts and resources and ideas. It is a flood of amazing energy in the season that I'm in right now because I've done a lot of things. I've had a lot of jobs. The one job I haven't had though is McDonald's, which is very. I did do Hardee's, but I haven't done.
Well, if
Seems
you
like
done
everybody's
one,
supposed to do McDonald's, right?
Hurry up because they're going away.
Oh, see, I need to go work at McDonald's. They have an awesome process, though. I really admire the process of how they get their work done because they do have a system, and
like I
I'm a
said, they don't-
systems girl. So,
So
yeah.
tell me about that. You are a systems girl. So
Yes.
tell me, what is it about systems that? How do your mind process that?
Yeah.
Systems.
clarity.
Clarity.
Clarity. When you have I believe that when you have a system of doing things, like I have a particular morning routine, and if I get off of my morning routine, I know I'm not going to get out of the house on time, so I'm not going to get to work on time, so I'm not going to get to break on time, lunch on time. Everything
Right.
is off if I don't follow my system. If I don't come in the house and follow my system for where I put my keys when I come in the house, I'm probably not going to be able to find those. I'm not going to be able to go anywhere. I mean, just everything breaks down. So I'm a certified project manager. I was a programmer in RTP for a long time with a Fortune 500 company. So the idea of processes, systems, work breakdown structure, all of those things are just kind of ingrained in me. And I take that to the extreme. Okay. Okay. A little bit radical, a little bit rebel with that process and systems thing. So it extends into every area of my life.
So I'm gonna that's gonna lead me into this next question is just so what right now, how are you stretching yourself right now? From you were a project manager or you still do project management? You have a project management mindset.
Surely.
how are you stretching yourself right now from where you are in that mindset to where you want to get to?
I am still a certified project manager, a PMP. They call me a pimp.
Pimp, PM.
I'm a pimp. I'm a girl. I know, right? I need a bigger car. I need a Cadillac if I'm gonna be a pimp. But I really enjoy. I really enjoy saying that. I write my name MBA, comma pimp. Okay, so I pimp businesses, not people.
Okay, that's
that,
the difference.
that is a great distinction. So where I'm stretching myself to right now is kind of the concepts and the ideals around the project management body of knowledge.
Okay.
I implore to apply those things to everyday living and everyday business building, everyday wealth building, everyday needle moving and progress making, because those are some great concepts of a project.
Can you give me an example of how you take that, I guess the business concept, and utilize that in a personal concept for your daily life?
Sure. Let's take, I call it my water map.
Okay.
I had this problem, and every project is designed to solve a problem or produce a product. Okay? A project has a distinct beginning and a distinct end. That's what makes it a project versus some other thing. So my water system or my water map, I wasn't drinking like enough water. I knew that for several reasons, and I was like, what I need is a system for drinking my water. How can I figure out a way that I can, I need a water system. Hey, they have those in cities and towns. But in my in my regard, I needed a system to make sure that I was drinking my water, and a system that when I checked in, when I just happened to think about it throughout the day, am I drinking enough water? I had a reference. I had a way to measure that without having to walk around with a pen and pad all day long. So what I did in true project management fashion, I broke down the components. Said, what we have here is water. I want to drink 8 glasses of water. So in my morning routine, I incorporated drinking a glass of water with my liquid vitamins before I did anything. Okay, 1 down, 8 to go. So that was there. It took me several mornings to tag on. I forgot, daggone, I forgot. Okay, so I finally got that. So we were working through that thing. Then I figured out along the way that if I drank 2 glasses of water before I left the house, one when I wake up and one before I left, by the time I got where I was going, I had to go to the bathroom because I just drank 16 ounces of water and it was time to use the restroom. Okay. So the system ended up being, and throughout this time I was charting every time I went. I actually would write it down, and I had these little maps I posted on Facebook. Whoop, made another drink, made another water, okay, I get this. So what ended up happening was, by me observing my behavior and observing what I did throughout my day, which a project manager does all the time to figure out if they're getting where they're going, right? You have to do that analysis.
Okay.
I figured out that if I drank 2 glasses of water before 9 a.m. or drank 2 glasses before I got where I was going, just the act of going to the bathroom would remind me about water, because that's what I was doing in there.
Right.
So when I would come out, I'd drink more water. And I found that when I kept track of that, if I drank water every time I went to the bathroom, magically by the end of the day, I drank 8 glasses of water. That was my system. And it's working. Doesn't my skin look good?
It do. Smooth, clear. So,
Thank you.
okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Shirley has some more. You want me to read them?
Oh yeah.
So Shirley is saying, "Why disappointment? You seem to be in a season of awakening and discovery."
Oh,
That's,
yeah.
I mean,
Oh,
something
yeah,
you
yeah,
talked
yeah.
about before.
Well, I guess that's
And
a
then-
bit. Yeah. Okay.
And then she says, "Organization
Uh-huh.
is the key to having a great system."
Ah,
And she says, "I agree that every project has a distinct beginning
yes.
and end. It is what happens between the beginning and end that is significant." And then she's telling you, project management equals pie. Plan, implement, execute.
I like it. There's actually 5: initiating, planning, executing, monitoring to controlling, and closing. Boy, my
Too hard.
People, there's actually 5 areas, but you hit it right on the nail. Those are very important. So that is the way I applied. One little example, but I do that all over the place. And my friends, they just really, some of them really like that about me, and some of them really don't like that about me, because I will say that you have to stay in the moment and you're not following the process.
But that's it. Like I said, that is the process.
Yeah, everything is a process.
I'm gonna take you away from the professional side of your life and
Disappointing. She asked about disappointing.
No, she was saying, "Why are you?"
Oh, can I answer that?
Sure.
I'm excited about answering that.
By all means.
Okay.
Yeah, by all means.
Disappointing. It's a biblical reference for me. I am a Christian business project person. So I believe that we are anointed for things, purposes in our lives. And then there is a time which I call our greatest moments, or the time in our lives where we are actualized, or we're doing our greatest work. I don't think I'm there yet at all. But between anointing and appointing is what I call my greatest moments, my greatest work.
Sounds good.
There's this season that you have to get ready to get all of that. That you have to grow and stretch and get yourself what you need, the tools, the attitudes, the emotions, the thick skin, the money,
Preparation.
preparation. And that's just what I call disappointing. I know that there is a place I'm going and I'm not there, but I'm committed to the process, of getting there. So that is what I call disappointing.
And let me keep you right along those lines. Let me ask you, if you knew then what you know now, what would you have done differently in the past if you knew back then what you know now?
Oh man, I would have been so much less afraid of asking for what I want. I would have asked for what I want, even if it came out and people knew right away that she has no idea what she's talking about. But there's something about saying things out loud, and people that care about you and really have a genuine interest in your well-being, when you vocalize and you say things, it opens the door for conversation. And when the door for conversation is open, that opens the door for information. So if you don't say anything, if I just hold it in and try to work it out myself and never tell anybody what I'm going through or what I'm thinking and all of that stuff, and I think people are going to think I'm stupid because I don't know and I don't say anything, I am cheating myself, because I'm not even giving them the opportunity to help me, because they don't know I have a mountain to move.
Hey. So Lorinda, just before we wrap it up, what I do want to try to get you to just let people know how they can get in touch with you. Let them know what social media you own, so they can find you.
Okay.
So just kind of just give us that before we go off the air.
Okay. You can movemymountain.com, of course, and Lorinda.com, which is LORRINDA.com, which is just going to take you to movemymountain.com. But, I'm just so proud I own my own name. I just had to say that. So, and my email is Lorinda@Lorinda.com. and all over the web, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all of those things. I am Alorinda. So ALORRINDA on YouTube, all over the place. I like internet stuff. That's information, right?
That's information. All right. Is there anything else that you want to share with us before we close out this evening? Any nuggets that you wanna leave us with that that can resonate with us until the next time?
Okay. Maybe just do what you can do.
Do what you can do.
Do what you can do, because all you can do is all you can do. And all you can do is enough. Just make sure you're doing all you can do.
So make sure you're doing enough.
Make sure you're doing all you can do, and that's enough. That's it. Don't beat yourself up about it. Just do all you can do.
So I'm gonna say those are words to live by. Lorinda saying, just do all that you can do, and
Yes.
and all that you can do is enough.
Yes.
So I would like to close out with that, and we'll go forward with that until next Tuesday. Do all that you can do,
Yes.
and all that you can do is enough.
That's it.
So I want to thank the audience for tuning in this evening. I want to thank Lorinda for coming in on and joining us today with those nuggets and sharing with us her concepts of project management with her organization, Move My Mountain, and also just her ideas. It's, I won't say mind-boggling, but they do open you up to, as they say, thinking outside the box, looking at things in a different way, and moving forward in that process.
Hey.
Okay, as long as you have a process of moving forward, you can kind of be in a state of happiness.
Yes. That's it.
So again, I want to thank everybody for tuning in and joining us this evening. We'll be back next Tuesday at 2 o'clock from 2 to 3. If you want to get on the show, you can hit me up at tperry5000@gmail.com, or you can hit me up at terrence@terrence.com. Again, I want to thank Nissan Communications for allowing us to host the show on nissancommunications.com. If you want to see the show later, the show is available on demand. You could just go to nissancommunications.com. You'll see channel on the left-hand side. Just hit channel, and you'll see Rebels with a Purpose. Just go there.
Actually, to watch it afterwards, go to the on-demand section, not to the channel, to the on-demand. Two items below, and then look for Rebels with a Purpose.
All right. So I will be back on every Tuesday live at 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock. If you want to be on the show, if you have a cause, mission, or purpose, or even a passion that you want to share with the public, come on the show. Particularly if there's a cause you're fighting for, if there's a mission that you're thriving in, or if there's just you living in your purpose. Come and share that purpose with us. Also, if there's a movement that you're involved in, come on with that movement. We're open to, it could be anybody, whether you be a author, musician, politician, lawyer, doctor, Indian chief. You can come on the show and just let us know what that mission, that passion, what that purpose is that you're living for. So I want to thank you all this evening, and I look forward to talking with you all next week. Thanks, and have a great evening.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. Our weekly lineup of call-in programs includes Computers 2K Now with Amnon Nissan, My Life, My Will with Gisela DiCarlo, The Tanya Love Show, Health Then with Debbie Bruck, Breaking Free with Marilyn Shannon, Triangle Be Well with Howard Jacobson, Lunch and Learn with Rabbi Yisrael Cutler, Lessons of Vietnam with NCVVI members, Current Affairs with Amnon Nissan. And if you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section on NissanCommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by Atomos.com, makers of quality video recorders and converters, CarolinaApparel.com, and DeltaForce.net.